Before we begin, pause for a moment and ask yourself something honestly. When was the last time your mind was completely at peace? Not distracted, not worried about tomorrow, not replaying yesterday, just calm, present and steady. For most people, that moment feels rare. The mind keeps running ahead, imagining problems, predicting outcomes, holding on to fears that may never even happen. And slowly, without realizing it, worry starts feeling normal. But here is a quiet truth. Many ancient teachings have pointed to for centuries. Most worry is not created by life itself. It is created by the way the mind relates to life. The constant chasing, the resisting, the overthinking, the need to control what cannot always be controlled. These habits quietly steal our peace. The beautiful news is this: peace is not something you have to earn after everything becomes perfect. It is not waiting somewhere in the future when all problems disappear. Peace begins when you change how you meet this moment. When awareness replaces panic. When acceptance replaces resistance. When presence replaces endless mental noise. Today we are going to explore a powerful inner shift inspired by deep wisdom. A way of living that gently reduces worry, not by escaping life, but by understanding it more clearly. And once you begin practicing this, even in small ways, you may notice something surprising. The calm you were searching for was never far away. It was simply waiting for your attention. Reality exists only in the present moment. Many of our worries are not actually happening right now. They live in memories of what already passed, or in fears about what might come. The past is something we can learn from, but we cannot change it. The future is something we can prepare for, but we cannot fully control it. Yet the mind often keeps traveling to these places again and again, creating stress, even when the present moment is calm. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that life is always unfolding in this very moment. The breath you are taking now, the sounds around you, the task in front of you, the person you are speaking with, this is where life truly exists. When attention stays here, worries naturally begin to lose strength because they depend on imagination about tomorrow or regret about yesterday. Think about how often the mind drifts while you are doing something simple. You might be eating but thinking about work. You might be working but thinking about future problems. You might be talking to someone but mentally somewhere else. This divided attention slowly builds tension. Bringing yourself gently back to what you are actually doing helps the mind settle. One easy way to practice this is by noticing your breathing. You don't need any special posture or long meditation. Just pause for a moment and feel one full breath come in and go out. That small awareness signals to your brain that you are safe right now. Another simple habit is to fully focus on one task at a time instead of juggling many thoughts together. When walking, notice your steps. When eating, notice the taste. When listening, truly listen. This doesn't mean ignoring the future or responsibilities. It simply means handling them when their time comes, instead of living inside imagined scenarios all day. Planning is useful. Worrying repeatedly is not. There is a big difference between preparing calmly and stressing constantly. When you start living more in the present, something surprising happens. Small moments begin to feel richer. Ordinary experiences feel calmer. The mind becomes less crowded. And slowly, worries that once felt overwhelming start losing their power because they no longer have your full attention to feed on. Peace is often not something you have to create. It is something you notice when you stop leaving the present moment. Thoughts are visitors, not truths. One of the biggest reasons people suffer from worry is because they believe every thought that appears in their mind. A single negative idea can show up, and within seconds it feels like a fact. But in reality, thoughts are not commands, and they are not always true. They are simply mental events that arise and pass, just like sounds in the street or clouds in the sky. Imagine sitting in a room with a window open. Different noises enter, cars passing, people talking, wind blowing. You hear them, but you don't assume every sound is important. In the same way, thoughts enter the mind all day long. Some are helpful, some are random, some are based on fear. But just because a thought appears does not mean it deserves your belief. For example, you might think, "I'm going to fail," or "something bad will happen," or "people are judging me." These thoughts can feel very real. The body may even react with tension or anxiety. But if you pause and examine them calmly, you often realize there is no solid evidence behind them. They are predictions, assumptions, or old patterns repeating themselves. Buddhist teaching encourages observing thoughts instead of immediately reacting to them. When a thought appears, you can mentally say, "This is just a thought." That small reminder creates space between you and the idea. In that space, you regain control. You are no longer pulled around by every passing mental story. It also helps to notice that thoughts are constantly changing. A worry that feels intense in the morning may disappear by evening. If thoughts were absolute truths, they would remain fixed. But they shift depending on mood, environment, energy, and many other factors. This shows that thoughts are temporary visitors, not permanent realities. When you stop fighting your thoughts and instead watch them calmly, they often lose their power. Trying to push them away can make them stronger, but observing them with patience allows them to pass naturally. It is like watching clouds move across the sky. You do not need to chase them or block them. They move on their own. Over time, this practice builds mental strength. Instead of being controlled by anxious thinking, you become the one who notices it. Instead of believing every fearful story, you question it gently. This shift changes everything. Worry decreases not because thoughts disappear completely, but because you stop treating every thought as a fact. The mind will always produce ideas. That is its nature. But you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And when you remember that, you take back your peace. Impermanence is not a threat. It is freedom. Many of our worries come from wanting things to stay the same. We want success to last forever. We want relationships to never change. We want comfort without interruption. And when we see signs of change, fear immediately rises. But change is not a mistake in life. It is the nature of life itself. Everything around us is constantly shifting. Seasons change. Day turns into night. Children grow up. Emotions rise and fall. Even our own thoughts are different from one hour to the next. Yet the mind often resists this natural flow. It tries to hold on tightly, believing that stability means safety. The problem is, the tighter we hold, the more anxiety we create. Buddhist wisdom teaches that impermanence is not something to fear. It is actually what makes growth, healing, and new beginnings possible. Imagine if painful moments never ended. Imagine if sadness, illness, or failure lasted forever. The fact that everything changes means that difficult times also pass. This truth alone can bring deep comfort. Think about a time in your life when you felt intense stress or heartbreak. At that moment, it may have felt endless, but slowly, things shifted. Your feelings softened, new experiences came, life moved forward. That is impermanence working in your favor. Impermanence also frees us from perfectionism. We don't need to control every detail because nothing remains fixed anyway. When we understand this deeply, we begin to relax. We still care, we still try, but we stop demanding that life stay exactly the way we want it. Another powerful realization is that impermanence makes each moment valuable. Because nothing lasts forever, this conversation, this breath, this opportunity becomes precious. Instead of clinging in fear, we can appreciate more fully. Accepting change does not mean becoming passive. It means flowing with reality instead of fighting it. When something ends, something else begins. When one door closes, another opens, even if we cannot see it immediately. The fear of change often creates more suffering than change itself. But when you see impermanence as a natural law rather than a personal threat, a sense of freedom appears. You stop trying to freeze life in place. You allow it to move. And in that movement, worry slowly transforms into trust. Craving creates inner turbulence. Much of the stress people feel does not come from what they have, but from what they constantly feel they still need. The mind keeps saying, if I just get this, then I'll be calm. If this situation improves, then I'll relax. If people approve of me, then I'll feel secure. This endless wanting creates a quiet but constant restlessness inside. It is like standing in water that never settles. Buddhist wisdom explains that craving is not simply having goals or hopes. It is the strong attachment that says happiness is impossible without a certain outcome. When the mind holds tightly to how things must be, even small changes or delays can create frustration and anxiety. You can see this in everyday life. Someone buys something new and feels happy for a short time. Soon the excitement fades and another desire appears. The cycle continues. This is not because the person is weak. It is because the mind naturally seeks more. But if we don't become aware of this pattern, it keeps us unsettled. Craving also appears in less obvious ways, wanting constant certainty, wanting everyone to agree with you, wanting life to go exactly as planned. These are all forms of attachment. When reality doesn't match these expectations, worry grows. Learning contentment does not mean giving up ambition or progress. It simply means not tying your peace completely to outcomes. You can work hard, pursue goals, and improve your life while still appreciating what is already present. This balance reduces emotional turbulence. A helpful reflection is to occasionally pause and ask yourself, what is already enough in my life right now? Often there are many things: health, relationships, opportunities, simple comforts, that the mind overlooks because it is focused on what is missing. Gratitude plays a powerful role here. When appreciation grows, excessive craving naturally softens. The heart becomes steadier because happiness is no longer postponed to some future achievement. Letting go of constant craving does not make life dull. In fact, it often makes experiences richer. When you are not always chasing the next thing, you can fully experience what is already here. As this habit develops, inner calm becomes more stable. Desires still arise, that is natural, but they no longer control your emotional state. And when craving loses its intensity, much of the worry that comes with it fades as well. Compassion toward yourself reduces mental struggle. Many people are far harsher with themselves than they would ever be with anyone else. A small mistake happens, and immediately the inner voice becomes critical. It says you should have known better, you should have done more, you are not good enough. This constant self-judgment quietly increases anxiety and emotional tension. The struggle is no longer just with life's challenges, but also with your own thoughts about yourself. Buddhist teaching places great importance on self-compassion because inner peace cannot grow where there is constant self-attack. Compassion toward yourself does not mean ignoring mistakes or avoiding responsibility. It means responding to your own difficulties with understanding instead of harshness. Think about how you treat a close friend who is struggling. You usually listen, encourage, and remind them that setbacks are part of being human. Offering that same patience to yourself creates emotional balance. It reduces the extra layer of suffering caused by guilt and self-blame. A lot of worry comes from fear of failure or fear of not meeting expectations. When you know you will treat yourself kindly, even if things go wrong, that fear decreases. You still aim to do your best, but you are not constantly afraid of disappointing yourself. Self-compassion also helps break the habit of perfectionism. Many people believe they must always perform perfectly to deserve peace. This belief creates continuous pressure. Accepting that imperfection is part of growth allows you to relax while still improving. Another important part of self-compassion is recognizing that everyone faces challenges. You are not uniquely flawed or alone in your struggles. This understanding removes the sense of isolation that often accompanies worry. Practicing self-kindness can be very simple. When you notice self-critical thoughts, pause and soften your tone internally. Remind yourself that learning takes time. Acknowledge effort, not just results. Allow yourself rest when needed, instead of pushing endlessly. Over time, this gentler relationship with yourself creates stability. You stop fighting your own mind so aggressively. Emotional resilience increases because you are supporting yourself instead of undermining yourself. When compassion becomes your default response toward yourself, worries lose much of their intensity. The mind becomes a safer place to live in, and that inner safety naturally reduces mental struggle. Letting go is strength, not weakness. Many people believe that holding on tightly shows strength. Holding on to opinions, expectations, past hurts, or even certain outcomes can feel like determination. But often, this tight grip creates more stress than stability. The mind stays tense, always afraid something might slip away. This tension slowly turns into worry. Letting go does not mean giving up on life or becoming careless. It means releasing the unnecessary attachment that creates inner pressure. You can still care deeply, still work hard, still pursue your goals, but without the constant fear of losing control. Buddhist wisdom explains that attachment often comes from the illusion that we can make everything permanent. We try to hold on to success, relationships, status, or comfort as if they will never change. When reality shifts, anxiety rises because the mind was depending on that stability. Letting go brings a different kind of strength. It allows flexibility. When circumstances change, you adapt instead of breaking. This flexibility reduces fear because you trust your ability to handle whatever comes, rather than needing everything to stay fixed. A simple example is holding on to past mistakes or regrets. Many people replay old events repeatedly, thinking it will somehow fix them. But this only drains emotional energy. Learning from the past is useful. Living inside it is exhausting. Letting go means accepting what cannot be changed and moving forward with the wisdom gained. The same applies to expectations about the future. When you insist that life must go exactly a certain way, every deviation creates stress. But when effort remains strong and attachment to the exact result softens, the mind stays calmer. Forgiveness is another form of letting go. Holding resentment keeps worry alive because the mind revisits the hurt again and again. Forgiveness does not justify wrongdoing. It simply frees you from carrying that emotional burden constantly. Letting go also applies to identity. Sometimes people cling to labels about who they think they must always be. Growth becomes difficult because change feels threatening. When you allow yourself to evolve, new possibilities open. This habit takes time. The mind naturally grabs onto things for security, but each time you consciously release unnecessary attachment, even in small ways, you create more inner space. That space is where peace grows. True strength is not rigid control. It is the ability to flow with life while staying centered. And when you learn to let go wisely, worry gradually loses its grip because you are no longer trying to hold the entire world in your hands. Silence nourishes clarity. In today's world, the mind rarely gets true silence. There is always noise, phones, conversations, news, music, notifications, constant information flowing in. Even when the surroundings are quiet, the mind often continues talking endlessly inside. This constant mental activity makes worries grow faster because the brain never gets the chance to settle. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a state where the mind slows down enough to observe rather than react. Buddhist wisdom values silence because clarity naturally appears when mental noise reduces. Just like muddy water becomes clear when left undisturbed, the mind becomes clearer when given moments of stillness. When you are always busy or distracted, thoughts pile up without being processed. Small concerns turn into bigger worries simply because there is no space to reflect calmly. Silence gives the mind room to breathe. It allows emotions to settle and perspective to return. Many people fear silence at first because they finally hear their own thoughts clearly, but this is actually the beginning of understanding. When you observe your thoughts without rushing away from them, you begin to see patterns. You notice which worries are real and which are repetitive habits. Simple, quiet moments can make a big difference. Sitting without your phone for a few minutes, taking a slow walk without distractions, focusing on your breathing, or spending time in nature all help reduce mental clutter. You don't need long meditation sessions to benefit. Even short pauses throughout the day help. Silence also improves decision-making. When the mind is crowded, choices feel overwhelming. But when things slow down, priorities become clearer. You respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Another important effect of silence is emotional balance. Continuous stimulation keeps the nervous system alert. Quiet moments signal safety to the brain. This reduces stress hormones and creates a calmer emotional state. Over time, silence stops feeling uncomfortable and starts feeling nourishing. It becomes a refuge rather than something to avoid. You begin to appreciate the calm space where insight naturally appears. When silence becomes a regular part of your life, worries lose their intensity, not because problems disappear, but because your mind is no longer constantly agitated. In that quiet clarity, solutions, patience, and peace have room to grow. Comparison is an illusion of the ego. One of the quietest sources of worry is comparison. It often happens without us noticing. We look at someone else's success, lifestyle, appearance, or achievements, and suddenly our own life feels smaller. The mind begins measuring, judging, and questioning. This habit slowly builds dissatisfaction, even when nothing is actually wrong in our own situation. From a Buddhist perspective, comparison is closely tied to the ego, the part of the mind that constantly tries to define identity through status, recognition, or superiority. The ego wants reassurance that it is doing well, and it searches for that reassurance by looking outward. But this outward measuring rarely brings peace, because there will always be someone ahead in some way. Comparison also creates a distorted view of reality. We usually compare our everyday struggles with someone else's highlights. We see their achievements but not their fears, failures, or private challenges. This incomplete picture feeds unnecessary worry and self-doubt. Another problem with comparison is that it pulls attention away from your own path. Everyone has different timing, different opportunities, different responsibilities, and different life circumstances. Expecting identical results ignores this complexity. When you focus too much on others, you lose sight of your own progress. The illusion here is believing that your worth depends on where you stand relative to others. Buddhism teaches that true value comes from awareness, compassion, and personal growth, not from ranking yourself against someone else. When you understand this deeply, comparison begins to lose its grip. Letting go of comparison does not mean ignoring inspiration. It is healthy to learn from others or admire their dedication. The difference is intention. Inspiration motivates, comparison judges. One builds confidence, the other erodes it. It also helps to recognize how quickly standards shift. What once seemed impressive soon becomes normal, and the mind looks for a new comparison point. This endless cycle keeps peace out of reach if you depend on external benchmarks. Turning attention inward brings stability. Instead of asking how you measure up to others, ask whether you are growing, learning, and acting with integrity. Personal progress becomes the focus rather than competition. Gratitude also weakens comparison. When you regularly notice what is already good in your life, the urge to measure constantly against others softens, contentment grows, and worry decreases. Over time, as comparison fades, you may notice a surprising sense of freedom. You move at your own pace. You appreciate your own journey, and the mental energy once spent on judging yourself against others becomes available for living more peacefully. Acceptance reduces resistance. Much of the pain we experience does not come only from the situation itself, but from our resistance to it. When something unexpected happens, the mind immediately says, "This shouldn't be happening," or "I can't accept this." That inner struggle creates a second layer of suffering. The event may be difficult, but the resistance makes it heavier. Acceptance does not mean liking what is happening. It does not mean approving of injustice or giving up on improvement. It simply means acknowledging reality as it is in this moment. When you stop arguing mentally with what already exists, a surprising amount of tension begins to dissolve. Imagine standing in heavy rain without an umbrella. If you spend all your energy complaining that it should not be raining, you remain soaked and frustrated. But if you accept that it is raining, your mind shifts toward practical action, finding shelter, adjusting plans, or waiting calmly. Acceptance clears the mind so you can respond wisely instead of reacting emotionally. Worry often grows when we refuse to accept uncertainty. We demand clear answers, perfect timing, or guaranteed outcomes, but life rarely offers such certainty. When you accept that some things are unknown for now, your nervous system relaxes. You stop fighting what cannot yet be solved. Acceptance also helps with emotions. Many people resist feelings like sadness, anger, or fear. They think these emotions are wrong or weak. This resistance keeps the emotion trapped longer. When you allow yourself to acknowledge a feeling without judgment, it moves through you more naturally. There is a quiet strength in saying, "This is what is happening right now." That statement does not remove difficulty, but it removes denial and panic. From that grounded place, you can decide your next step calmly. Acceptance also protects energy. Fighting reality consumes mental strength that could be used for growth or healing. When you accept first and act second, your actions become more focused and effective. Over time, practicing acceptance builds emotional resilience. You begin to trust that you can face whatever comes, even if it is uncomfortable. Instead of tightening against every change, you soften and adapt. When resistance decreases, worry loses much of its intensity. Life still brings challenges, but you are no longer in constant battle with what is already here. In that shift, peace becomes more available, even in imperfect circumstances. Awareness is the ultimate refuge. One of the deepest teachings in Buddhism is that awareness itself can become a safe place. External conditions will always change. Situations improve, decline, shift unexpectedly. People come and go. Emotions rise and fall. If peace depends only on these changing conditions, it will always feel fragile. But awareness, the simple ability to observe what is happening within and around you, can remain steady even when everything else moves. Awareness means noticing your thoughts, emotions, sensations, and surroundings without immediately reacting. It is like stepping back slightly and watching your own experience unfold. When you do this, you realize that you are not the worry itself. You are the one noticing the worry. That small shift creates space, And in that space, calm can begin. Many worries grow because we become fully absorbed in them. A single anxious thought appears, and suddenly it feels like the whole reality. But when awareness is present, you see the thought as just one part of your experience, not the whole picture. This perspective reduces intensity. Awareness also helps you respond instead of react. Without awareness, reactions are automatic. Stress appears, and the body tightens immediately. Fear appears, and the mind jumps to worst-case scenarios. With awareness, there is a pause. In that pause, wiser choices become possible. Another powerful aspect of awareness is its stability. Thoughts change, emotions change, but the ability to notice them remains. Returning to that observing presence can feel grounding, especially during difficult moments. It becomes an inner anchor when external certainty is lacking. Practicing awareness does not require anything complicated. You can begin simply by paying attention to your breathing for a few moments. Notice how the air enters and leaves, or observe sounds around you without labeling them. Even noticing how your feet touch the ground while walking can bring you back into awareness. Over time, this practice strengthens. You start noticing thoughts before they spiral into worry. You recognize emotional shifts earlier. This early awareness prevents small concerns from becoming overwhelming stress. Awareness also deepens appreciation for ordinary life. When you are truly present, simple experiences, a conversation, a meal, a quiet moment, feel more meaningful. This sense of connection naturally reduces anxiety about what might happen later. Eventually, awareness becomes something you can rely on anywhere. It does not depend on perfect circumstances. It travels with you. And when challenges arise, returning to awareness reminds you that even though situations change, your capacity to observe, breathe, and remain present is always available. When awareness becomes your refuge, worry loses its dominance. You are no longer trapped inside every anxious thought. Instead, you stand calmly beside it, watching it come and go, grounded in a deeper sense of stability. And in the end, peace is not something you chase, it is something you return to. The worries that once felt overwhelming begin to soften when you stop fighting every thought, every change, every uncertainty. Awareness, acceptance, compassion, and presence slowly reshape how you experience life. You don't need a perfect future to feel calm. You only need a steady mind in this moment. And that is a habit you can build, breath by breath, day by day. So start today. Not when life becomes easier, not when everything is sorted out, today. Because the moment you become present, worry loses its strongest hold. And when awareness becomes your refuge, peace is no longer rare, it becomes your natural state.